So welcome everyone to Welcome Week and to the Students Association. So this evening presentation will be presented by myself. So I'm the president of the Students Association and I'm joined by Andrew Wilson, who is the deputy president. So
hello guys.
And with all of our Student Association events, we have a code of conduct. It's just essentially that we have certain behaviour policies. We expect everyone to be respectful. We expect you all to treat each other as adults, which I'm pretty sure you all will, but obviously we are also bound by the OU's computing code of conduct. So it's important that we are treating this space as a safe space and one in which that we can all communicate with. Anyone who does breach any of the codes of conduct, then they will be removed from the session. But I'm sure that's not going to happen because I trust you all. So just to let you know, I think I did mention it earlier, I can't actually see anyone at the moment because I'm presenting. So Andrew is going to be manning the chat for us. And he's also supported by Gabby from our staff team. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask in there, feel free. And they'll be popping some links in throughout the presentation just regarding some of the things that I'll be talking around. And then, as I say, the session is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it back as well. So welcome and welcome to Welcome Week. For some of you, you may have been to Welcome Week before or, are very familiar with the association, but then there are going to be lots of you that have probably never even heard of us, whether you've been studying for 2 years, 3 years, or this is your very first time. So we always run a Welcome Week in the October starts and in the February starts. And they're a great way just to learn a little bit more about us and get involved with the student community. So who are we? What is the association? So the Students Association is a student-led organisation and it is led by the student leadership team. So myself as the president, I'm the head of the student leadership team, and then I'm supported by Andrew. And then we have 40 staff members who sort of make all of our ideas and all of our plans into actions. And then we're also supported by tons, I'd say over 100 volunteers who do very different various roles. And I'll go into those a little bit more later. So all OU students are automatically members, so you don't need to do anything. If you want to receive things like our newsletters and get involved in some events, you do have to sign up within our OU website. But either way, we are still representing you, even if you don't do that, because we represent all OU students. So our mission is to make a positive difference for all OU students. And one of the ways in which we do this is through our work with the OU. So we're quite lucky that we have quite a good working relationship with the OU, and they do actually care about the student voice, and they are always very keen to hear the student voice and to get that voice heard and embedded in their work. We do have a specific relationship agreement, which if anybody have ever fancied it, can have a look at. And it just sort of, it's the expectations from the OU and the expectations of ourselves as a representative body. So I mentioned the student leadership team. So the student leadership team is all elected. They're all OU students. And we're the ones that will sort of we steer the work of the Student Association. So we're the ones who pick up any issues. We will work on specific areas. And then if there's anything in particular that we need the OU to know about, so that we're hearing a lot from students, but the OU aren't aware of, we will then drive that forward and put that into the spaces that it needs to be heard. So as I mentioned before, it's led by myself and supported by Andrew, the deputy president. And apart from us two, everyone else within the student leadership team are all volunteers. So they give their time to help be the student voice and to represent you all. And then when we talk about the association, we all normally say, like, so the student leadership team are the face of the association. We're supported by the staff who are the hands because they make things happen. And then we have our volunteers that are the heart. And then we have our trustees who look after us all and make sure that we're being sensible. So they're the brains of the outfit, so to speak. So what does the face of the student leadership team look like? Well, so it's a very fetching photo of us all there. But the student leadership team essentially is made up of different roles and different remits. So we have our vice presidents, which are often referred to as VPs. So each VP has a specific area of work. A lot of them are very obvious from their titles. But it just means that we're covering all bases in our work. So, for example, Ross, our VP EDI, will work with the OU's EDI team and their EDI committee. Katie's work will focus on things like student consultations, student voice weeks, and all those ways in which we can be heard within the OU. And then Olivia will engage with the OU around community spaces and all their communications teams, as well as obviously making sure that we're promoting us so that as many of you know that we're here and that and the work that we're doing. And then, so Katie, Olivia and Ross were quite new to the team and to the association. For those who have been with the association, who are aware of the association or have been with us for a bit longer, will recognise these two faces. So Nicola used to be our Wells faculty rep in the last student leadership team, but she's now our vice president student representation. So she helps look after all the volunteers with the volunteer and representation team. And then we have the vice president student welfare, Mark, and he will work with our EDI team and VP EDI on and the OU. He works in areas such as mental health support. He's been doing some work around supporting students through the menopause. So there's lots of different things that they can get stuck into. So I've just realised that looking at this slide, I've completely forgot to add the sustainability rep. So I do apologise, Jethro, if you are here. So as well as our VPs, we have a student member of council. So Andrew is the student member of council, and the OU's governance, the way in which it works, is that they have a Senate, and that looks after all the academic interests of the OU, and then they inform the council, and the council have the overriding authority for the OU to make those decisions about the institution. So both myself and Andrew sit on council and the Senate. So again, with those students, with those voices in those rooms, and having recently attended my first council meeting, I can safely say that they do listen and they are interested in what we have to say. So it's always reassuring. And I feel really bad for this, but I do apologise, Jethro, but I've left Jethro's photo off the sustainability rep part. So the sustainability rep role is a new role, which is probably why I've ended up doing that, and I really, really do apologise. So one of our previous SLT members, Lou Robinson, she did some phenomenal work on sustainability throughout her time, just completely separate to everything else she was doing. So in an effort to keep that work going and to keep pushing the OU on those issues of sustainability, we have a dedicated rep. There will be a link in the chat at some point to all of these profiles, so you can go and have a look at Jethro's face. I'm not sure if he's with us tonight, if he's just pop your camera on and give us a wave, because again, apologies. I'm very professional, as we can all see. So as well as, so we've got vice presidents, we've got a council member, and we've got a sustainability rep. To go with these, we have area representatives. So the OU works across the 4 nations, and we are international, so we have students all over the globe. So in they also then have to contend with various different governments, different governing bodies. So we have a rep for each one of the nations, and then we have Isabel, who's our international area rep. And these help us with sort of navigating policies and liaising with the OU offices and teams within those nations. So quite often there may be sort of Wales events going on at the Wales OU office. believe there's a meet up at some point this week, or there'll be things going on in Ireland. And then Julie sits as our England area rep, which is obviously a lot of what we do, but she can drill down more into the policy side of things for us, so that we're still, there's a lot of things that go on and there's a lot of things that change very quickly, so it's good to always have those eyes looking at them for us. So we also have 4 faculty representatives. So each course, module, anything that you do within the OU will sit within a faculty depending on what the topic of that is. So, for example, psychology sits within the arts and social sciences, or normally called FAS. So that's a Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. We have business and law, so that's normally referred to as FBL. And then we have WELS, which I'm going to take a stab at because I always get it wrong, but it's Wellbeing, Education, Language and Sports. No.
Nearly there, Natalie. Well, yeah, good try. Wellbeing, Education and Language Studies.
See, there we go. It was the S that threw me.
Yeah, it does with a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola.
No
See, this is why Nicola used to be the Wales rep, she knows. And then we also have Faculty of Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, so our STEM, and that's headed up by Scott. So if there's any issues within modules, if you have issues that you come across with materials, or, if there's, I always say issues, but, if there's something really, really great happening in your faculty, or there's something really great happening on your module that you think other students should know about, then again, get in touch and let them know, and we can always feed that back, and we can try and get that consistency across all of the schools and the faculties and everything else. So I appreciate that it's quite an exhaustive list, but it's also not the full student leadership team. So we do have quite a number of vacancies at the moment. Now, as these are all elected positions, we do have to run another election. So we're hoping to run a by-election at some point in the beginning of next year. So if you go on our website, there should be a link coming up in the chat, or like I say, if you go through our website, you can have a little scroll and a little look at everything there. Then they can find some more information about our elections, some of the role specifications and some of the other vacancies. And then if you sign up to our newsletter, you'll get those notifications once we get to the point where we're ready to do an election, and then people can stand and put themselves forward for those roles. So a little bit more about ourselves. So as I said, we call our volunteers the heart of the association, and it is, if without them we wouldn't be able to do half of the things that we can do. And there's various different ways in which students can get involved and volunteer with the Students' Association. So we have a variety of different roles. So we have our student reps, and these are students that sit at all the different levels of governance. So the OU is massive. It is ridiculously massive, and there are boards of studies, there's faculty meetings, and then there's Senate, and you've got all these other little things that go on here, there and everywhere. So to be able to make sure that we're all making our voices heard, and our voices are as diverse as they can be, we have student reps that sit within those areas, and then they work with us volunteering and representation team, and they'll help them sort of put together meeting papers or go through anything that crops up in those meetings, and then they can feed it back to the student leadership team, and then we can sort of take that forward. So it's very much a big team effort. Another one of our volunteer roles is a really important volunteer role, and that's our library study volunteers. So we do have a lot of students that study with us that are in secure environments. So these could be in prisons or in secure hospitals. Now, you can imagine how difficult sometimes it is at home if something happens and you can't get on your computer or you can't print something out. Now, our students in secure environments cannot access any form of the internet. They can't go on our library services. They can't search for a journal or an article or any of those things. So our library study volunteers will do that for them. So they'll go through their materials, pick out what it is they need finding. That gets sent to our team at the association, and then they'll pass it over to a volunteer, and they will then find that work for them. It gets printed from our warehouse and sent to wherever those students are. And like I say, it can make a real difference to students in secure environments and their learning. And then one of the really fun roles that we have is our meetup hosts. So these are students who will run community sessions. Like I say, when I mentioned Nicola, and if everyone's seen Nicola, if you've been to any one of our meetup sessions, you will have probably seen Nicola because she does a lot. and I'm sure she'll testify that they are really fun to do and they're a great way to meet people. And these can be online or they can be set up as a face-to-face event. So one thing we do get a lot of students asking for is face-to-face, but obviously with how big the OU is, with how far spread everyone is, we do rely on our sort of meetup host to be able to facilitate those, but we do provide the training and we'll give all the support that we can to help you make yours a success. And there are other roles that are available, and these are just sort of like the ones I probably know the most about. But there is a session this Thursday with our volunteering team at 5 p.m. So they will go through it a lot more and go through the processes and what the roles are. So I'm very conscious that I've been talking for quite a while and you're probably sick of hearing my voice. And you're probably still thinking, so what is the Student Association and why do they matter? Now, obviously we're over 50 years old and there's been an awful lot of work that we've done. And if I was to go through it and list it all now, we'd be here all night. So thankfully for our 50th anniversary, we had a video put together of all of our milestones. So I'm going to take a break from talking. I'm going to play that for you. And you can just see some of the work that we've done and why we are so committed to doing what we do.
If we call those lines of communication, then I'll eat my ruddy hat. It's time the Students' Association came into being to get a clear route through and a clear route back, to and from. I think that skeptics are always a hurdle, and they're always with us. And unfortunately, to some people, you have to prove your worth before they'll join you. It's as simple as that.
After much campaigning and hard work, the OU Students' Association came into being in 1972, and Millicent Marsland was elected as the first president. By the mid-70s, student representatives sat on major decision-making bodies throughout the university. This continues to this day. Also at this time, the association helps students with disabilities take part in study tours worldwide, using a specially converted bus. Towards the end of the 70s, we campaigned for grants for OU students. The long fight for funding for part-time learners began. The OU Students' Educational Trust, USET, was set up in 1982 to give a helping hand to OU students in financial hardship. This continues its important work to support OU students today. In 1985, President Iris Keating and the then Vice President Campaign's Chris Raworth delivered a petition with 160,000 signatures to Number 10, signalling our tireless support for the Open University against government cuts. In the 1990s, we campaigned for both Bachelor of Science and named degrees. Up until this point, all OU degrees were open Bachelor of Arts. Now students could proudly show their field of study to prospective employers. Peer support became available in 2000 for students looking for a motivational helping hand from their peers. This service provides students with an opportunity to give back and support fellow students by sharing their experiences. In 2003, the Disabled Students Group evolved to provide support for students with seen and unseen disabilities. As an increasing amount of all OU students are disabled, the group helped to create a community for these students and demonstrated our growing commitment to inclusive education for all. President Joan Jones led the campaign to secure the coveted NUS card, now called Totem, for OU students in 2005. This created parity between OU students and students studying at traditional BRIC universities. The association was proud to have influence in a long-running campaign to make student loans available to part-time undergraduates from 2011, enabling more students to further their education and change their lives by studying with the OU. In 2014, we piloted our first ever virtual Freshers' Fair, and it was so successful that it's been a mainstay ever since. In 2016, we held the first open-to-all, fully online elections. This enabled all students to vote for the candidates they wanted to represent their views to the university and beyond, giving students a voice on the issues important to them.
And remember, you do have the authority to have your voice heard.
Building on a legacy of inclusion and diversity within our OU community, we took great pleasure in formally integrating our LGBTQI+ group, OU Pride, formerly known as Plexus, with the association in 2017. In 2019, the association earned its Investing in Volunteers national accreditation, alongside facilitating 2 student-led projects. These projects led to thousands of items being donated to homeless charities in Milton Keynes, and 250 wellbeing boxes being posted to OU students across the community. Our online student magazine, The Hoot, was also launched in 2019. OU students from around the world are encouraged to contribute blogs, stories and articles about their lives as students to inspire and motivate others. In 2020, the association took steps to become a more inclusive and diverse environment by forming a new Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Working Group. This group is responsible for the development and improvement of EDI throughout the association. 2020 also saw us proudly formalise the affiliation with our Black, Asian and minority ethnic student group. Also in 2020, the association held its first full online conference, moving plans from a face-to-face event to a fully online one in less than 12 weeks due to the global pandemic. This conference had the highest engagement from students and highest voting figures of any conference in recent years. August 2021 saw the launch of the Student Advice Individual Representation Service Pilot, which provides support, help and guidance for students who are going through a complaint or appeal procedure with the university. 2021 also saw the creation of a new micro-volunteer role, which enables OU students to engage in their student community by taking part in small, time-limited projects and activities. Join us for the next chapter in our story and be a part of something bigger.
We are OU students!
So yeah, that's just some of the work that we've done over the last 50 years. There's been many challenges, also lots of achievements, and we have to constantly adapt to changing worlds, changing platforms, changing techniques and technologies and all the other things. But we still keep going, and we are. Didn't think that was going to go then. So some of the things that were covered in the video, we still are very active with. So, for example, our student support groups, they are again, run by volunteers. So there's a committee, and they will help put together things like meetups and awareness days, or just having a nice community of people who understand what it is that you're going through, because studying is difficult at any time. So when there's those other pressures or those other areas of your life that can make that a struggle, it's really nice to be surrounded by people who understand. So the video mentioned the individual representation service as a pilot. I'm very pleased to say that this is now a permanent feature of the Students' Association, and our individual rep teams are there to help students who may have academic misconduct issues. So if they've been flagged for plagiarism, for example, or they may have a complaint about the OU, so they can help them navigate that complaint system, and they can be there and help them. They can represent them within those certain meetings, and they can just provide general help and advice. So, as I said, studying can be a struggle. So there are also places in which you can go if you do feel like you need to talk to somebody. So we've got Talk Campus, and we've also got Shout 85258. So it's a confidential, free texting service. You just text OU to 85258, and then someone will message you back, and it's all confidential. That no one can ID you, no one knows who you are at all. The OU don't even know that you've contacted them. They don't keep any of that kind of information, but it's just really handy, especially when you're getting a bit stressed around TMAs and EMAs and just life and studying and everything else that comes along. And then we have USET, which is our educational trust, which helps students who struggle with getting funding in any other way. So if they've exhausted all the other funding processes, then students that meet certain criteria can apply for grants, and they've helped hundreds of students be able to continue with their studies. So if listening to me has got you all inspired and you really want to get involved with the OU, there are a number of ways in which you can get involved with us. So like I said, our website is the font of all knowledge. It's there. It does take a bit of a while to get used to because there is so much to look at, but it's always there to refer back to. I said, if it's something you find and you quite like it and you want to remember it, just bookmark it. It'll make it much easier to come back to. And then we're on social media. So one of the things about being the face of the association is that you will see a lot of our SLT members. We would tend to do videos that will pop up every now and again, or write articles. So yeah, you will get used to seeing us a lot. And then, as I said, if you sign up to our newsletter, then you'll get to hear about all of these opportunities that are coming along and any other news that is relevant to you. And then we have The Hoot, which is an online magazine, and anyone can contribute to The Hoot. You just sign up to the website, you write out what it is you want to write. It could be an article. Some people do quizzes. It can be a piece of study advice, anything that you want to do. And then that will be published. So it's proofread by our team and then published for you to share with other students. We have clubs and societies. So these are clubs that have special interest. You don't need to be studying a particular thing to join any of the clubs. Some of the societies are relevant to certain subject areas, so like the Law Society and the Psychological Society. Well, that's not to say you can't join them if you are interested in psychology but studying something else. They do a lot of interesting talks and events, and it's just another great way to meet students. So yeah, I mentioned our meetups. So if you want to join a meetup, you can. There's a list of the different events that happen. Most of them are online, but there are the odd few that could be face to face. And it's not actually on this slide because this is how new it is. We have just launched our OU Students Connect. It's a chat platform that is just for OU students. So you can only enter, and if you've got your OU login, so you log in through your student home. There should be a link to that coming into the chat. If not, you will hear a lot about it because it's completely new to us, but it's also something that is going to make a real difference in terms of connecting students and being able to do it in a safe way without having all of the issues that can come sometimes with social media platforms. And one of our other volunteering opportunities, it's in that picture there. So those three lovely people are there at the bottom of the page are one of our graduations. So at every graduation we have a stall where we go, we sell certain OU merchandise. If you want a really nice hoodie, for example, cups, t-shirts for each graduation, the t-shirt with everyone's names on it, and again that's a staff member and volunteers who will run those stalls. I've never done one myself personally. I just physically can't, but I know a lot of students that have, and they absolutely love them. And I think always seeing those graduations, the pictures, and all the other things, it just keeps you going, especially when you are hitting TMAs and EMAs and exams, and you just think, why did I even bother? So they're really good just to help you with that motivation. So, like I said, there is a lot that the association are doing, and you're probably not going to remember half of the things that I've just said to you. So, just join through the website or sign up for the newsletter. Like I said, you'll see our faces everywhere on social media. So we have like Facebook pages and that sort of thing that you can follow as well. But Welcome Week is a week in which we have an absolute ton of events, very similar to this one. It won't just be people talking at you like I have, but there's those options, there's opportunities to get involved and to meet other parts of the OU that you may not have encountered before. So, for example, Monday there is a session with our Careers and Employability Service, and the one thing I will say is I cannot speak about them highly enough. They are an absolute source of information, and don't do what I did and wait till you got towards the end of your degree, because they're there from day one, and you can engage with them at any point throughout your degree and also for up to, I think it's 2 years afterwards. So they're really, really good source of information and support in whatever, even if it's, you might not be looking for a new career, but sometimes even it's just helping to write a CV, for example. So the clubs and societies fair, so those are the ones that I was talking about. So there'll be people from each of the clubs and the different societies and just talk about what it is they do and how you can get involved. We had we had an offline meeting today. It was a welcome fair on campus with some of the clubs and societies, and me and my son went, and it was brilliant, and it's so interesting to see the different things that students are getting up to and getting involved with, and again just another great way to engage with students. We have the Green Impact panel discussion, so this is being led by Jethro. So if you turn up to that, you will see what Jethro looks like. See, there was a method in my madness. And he's going to go through some sustainability issues, and I believe he's got some panel members that are going to come along and go through that with him. And then the ever popular bingo is on Friday night. It's always a good one. I don't think I've ever won a game of bingo, but hey, who knows, you might be really lucky. you can have my prizes. So, as well as all of these events and everything else that's going on at the association, we also have a number of competitions and prize draws. So our writing competition is quite a popular one, and we tend to run them every, I was going to say freshers because that's what it used to be called, but every Welcome Week, as it will now be known. And so you can just submit a piece of writing, and then that gets judged, and then you win a prize. Whoever wins gets a prize, and I believe they're put into the Hoot as well, so they'll be published. We also have some Welcome Week freebies, so they're quite handy for some like study planners and just things that help you get all organised, ready for the start of your year. Which always sounds weird saying that in October, but at the start of your study year. And then we also have a feedback prize draw that will be starting the end of the week. So one of the things that we are always keen on is to hear from students what worked well, what didn't you like, what would you like to see more of, you know, how amazing the welcome event was, and you know how brilliant Natalie was at presenting. Otherwise, you know, sort of get that in there. And then we also have, back by very popular demand, and I know a lot of people are probably going to be sitting waiting for it, is our passport bingo. So passport bingo is, there will be a set phrase in certain events throughout the week. There is a list of what events they are. So once you get the phrase, you can then submit that through our website, and that enters you into the prize draw. So I'd say drum roll, but I can't do one. So the passport bingo prize draw secret phrase for tonight is student leadership team. And like I say, if you make a note of that, and then you can submit it through the website, and then you'll be entered into the prize draw. So that's student leadership team. And if you are big into sort of bingos, prizes, quizzes, we do happen to have a quiz directly after this session with Isabel and Melissa, I believe it is. So they're going to be running a quiz for you all. And again, the link should be coming into the chat. If not, it is on our Welcome Week pages and all of the Welcome Week events. If there's something you see that you want to join, you can, if you click on them, add them to your calendar so that you don't end up like me and completely forget you. And then 2 weeks later go, oh, I really wanted to do that. So very conscious that I've spoken to you all for quite a long time and I haven't been able to see any of you. So I will say thank you for listening to me, but also we do have a bit of time if there are any